So I actually bought an electric unicycle a little more than a week ago, and I've been spending time learning how to ride it, and it's really cool. I can say the reason I got an electric unicycle is I have a Tesla, and I actually have free charging for electric vehicle charging in town where I live. So I have an electric longboard that I would ride to go bring my car to charge and then ride the longboard back home. And it really works for me to be able to do that and get free charging without having to, walk and spend 30 minutes to do it. Um, so I got to the charger a few weeks ago and realized that I hadn't actually charged the hand remote for my electric longboard. So with that, well, I should say it's not I hadn't charged. I had left the hand remote on, and so the replaceable batteries inside of it were dead, and that was an issue because I had to either choose to drive back home and replace the batteries or just ride the board manually home. So I chose to ride the board home manually, and it was fine. I mean, I was a skateboarder. It's not that it's too hard to ride a longboard, assuming it's an in-wheel motor rather than a belt-driven motor. So mine's the Acton Quattro. It's got the four motors. It's a very powerful electric longboard, but it rolls just fine like a regular skateboard or like a regular longboard. Now, the issue that I have is actually around braking. So I'm regular footed with skateboarding, and I had a reconstruction on my foot. I was in the Army infantry, and over the years it caused a little bit of wear on my body, and I think the one of the things is I had a reconstruction, and that's why I'm no longer in the Army. But so that is an issue when I try to foot brake. So, foot braking with a longboard, you take your foot off and you put your foot on the ground, and that's how you can brake. You can also do things like carving, which will, keep your speeds lower and things like that. But I'm not the greatest because also with that reconstruction, I don't have the best ankle control and foot control. There's a number of problems, so that's why I decided, well, if I get an electric unicycle, which can go significantly faster and in different terrains, it can go off-road, it can ride in different weather, then it's just a superior transport vehicle to the electric longboard because the electric unicycle that I have is the InMotion V11, and it's got a range of like 60 miles probably with my weight. So that's fantastic. So today I went to actually make my first video with this electric unicycle. I've had it for about a week and some change. And I've been learning how to ride it. Initially, it was really actually very difficult. The learning how to just stand on it and get started was something that was a real challenge. And I've seen a lot of videos, people using walls and rails and things like that. I ended up using a broom handle to sort of be my stability while I was learning to stand on it and get started. Did that for a little while, and then eventually I just started riding on it, and that worked out for me. And then I started doing figure eights and doing a lot of stuff at slow speeds, trying to get my figure eights as tight as possible. And that really helped me to learn how to turn. And I did learn a few days ago how to get up to speed a little bit, and so I started pushing the limits, getting into the 20 to 25 mile an hour range. But today, I was getting a little bit more comfortable with going at speed, and I experienced the wobbles previously, but today they got pretty bad when I was trying to go a little bit faster, and I ended up doing the wrong thing. I bailed out after slowing down a good bit. The wobbles started happening as I was accelerating, and unfortunately the battery had died on my camera prior to this actually occurring, so I don't have that actual video. But so as I was accelerating, the wobbles started happening, and then when I started to slow down, the wobbles got worse, and I opted to bail out. And now I just watched a video from somebody who said that's like the worst thing you can do. You know, confidence and don't bail out because you can get through it. Like, now I know that. I watched that after the fact. I probably should have watched that video beforehand. I'll link to that video. But yeah, so that's basically what happened. Still, it's a lot of fun. I just want to show some of the aftermath bits of what happened. So this is my left wrist guard that I was wearing, and I'm glad I was wearing a lot of gear. You know, so this is the one that actually EWHEELS sent me, and it's it was very helpful. So this broke right here, the attachment point for the front part of it. So that saved my wrist. My wrist does hurt a little bit, but not really too bad. Then on the wheel itself, I did get some damage on the front portion here. So I did have some protection on that. So I had put some of the corner protection and some 3M on top of that in order to try and protect the wheel in the event of an impact. And it did a pretty good job of protecting it, but it wasn't good enough. It did break part of the front portion here. It still functions and it still works, but it was it is broken. So I'm going to look into seeing how I can try and fix that. It's really just the housing part that was damaged. Then I was wearing my lazy rolling hoodie, so I'm glad I got all of this protective gear beforehand. And I did have some damage to the hoodie. It still is functional. I don't think I'm going to go through the crash replacement process. I'll link in the description if you want to get one of these, but that is the damage that was sustained on the hoodie. It's both on the elbow area and on the shoulder area. So this really did its job in protecting me. And then there was some. I wear these knee guards, the Liad or Leat, whatever how it's pronounced. And there was a little bit of I don't even know if this was from that impact. I'm not sure actually, but basically the gear did its job, and I'll put some of the footage that I did end up capturing. Unfortunately the mic setup that I have is not working. The wind is no good, so you can't really hear when I'm talking on that, but I'll do some voiceover with that footage. But overall, it's still a lot of fun. I gotta say, it's gonna be fun to do some videos and follow up on this, but it's a learning experience. And so earlier I was discussing the limitations of the electric longboard, and I'll probably also end up getting a one wheel. I think my brother might sell me his older one while he is going to get the new one wheel GT. I think it's an interesting thing, but the electric unicycle is still also superior to the one wheel in both range and top speed. So another thing is the InMotion V11 that I have is full suspension, so it can actually be ridden off-road, and that's a big factor for me. So I'm looking forward to doing some more videos using the electric unicycle I There's a few different types of segments that I'll probably be doing with it, and so more to follow there. Please do leave your questions and comments below if there's anything specific that you're interested in seeing. I didn't, in this ride, I didn't use my selfie stick GoPro. I was just using my helmet mounted camera, and so, I mean, rightfully so, like, I would have probably broken the GoPro if I was holding that because of the crash. I kind of suspected that as I was learning, it would be best for me to not be holding something. So that is something that I'm glad I was not holding. One other factor with, generally speaking, in comparing an electric unicycle to either a one-wheel or some kind of electric longboard, the challenge with an electric longboard, in my experience, is if you wear a backpack, you are thrown off a bit. And so I would, I work in technology, and I have sometimes, as a consultant in technology, I would have multiple laptops for different customers and things like that, and that would be a big weight on my back, and so it throws off your center of gravity when you're trying to do turns, especially in the direction of where your backpack is on. So with an electric unicycle, that weight stays on your back, and you're not going to have it impact your riding experience as much because you're not going to have it to lean so much, and it's not going to pull on your momentum, and gravity will not cause you to have as much of an impact. At least that's what I think so far, and we'll see. I still haven't actually tried that out, and these days I mostly work remote, but those are some things that I had in mind with going the route of getting an electric unicycle. So with all of that, I do want to stress the importance of having protective gear. The gear that I'm wearing is, like I said earlier, the hoodie that has full protection, like motorcycle-like protection. It's Kevlar lined, so a good amount of protection. I'm wearing a full-face mountain bike helmet, and that's a good amount of protection. The wrist guards I was wearing, the knee guards, all of that stuff is really important when you have this small vehicle. And my particular InMotion V11, it can get up to about 35 miles an hour, so it can be quite dangerous. So I'll leave some links in the video description to the gear that I went with. I also have some stuff that I haven't actually yet shown or worn for riding because it's too cold, but I do think that having protective gear is extremely important. So you can check out those links in the video description. Where possible, I'll have affiliate links, but if something doesn't offer an affiliate link, I'll still just link to the items that I have. So just keep in mind, you need to wear protective gear, and this stuff can be really dangerous. And even myself, my first day of skiing, I was on blacks and double black diamonds. My first day of snowboarding, I was on blacks and double blacks. Having the experience of being an inline skater and skateboarder growing up, that doesn't save you from the learning curve on these devices, and it's different when you go down on a mountain with fresh powder versus on asphalt. So it's even more important to have protective gear when you're on the streets. Not to mention the fact that you have giant multi-ton vehicles on the road that could be the reason for an accident. So I do want to stress that you want to wear protective gear, especially if you're going to be pushing the limits of these devices. So yeah, check out the video description for that. Also, I will have an affiliate link to EWHEELS. As I mentioned earlier, EWHEELS did send those wrist guards. I didn't even ask for it. I didn't know they were going to send those. I had actually purchased other wrist guards that were too small, because I went off of my normal glove size, but I wanted to wear these wrist guards over gloves and over gear, so having the larger wrist guards that were sent to me it was really helpful, and that's actually what I ended up using. For now, I'll probably wear the smaller ones, and I'll still just get by with that. But yeah, looking forward to putting out more content around these devices and also some other stuff. I'll get more into that later, so drop comments below if you have any questions. Subscribe for more content like this, and I also talk about financial strategies, personal finance, and wealth building. So I'm actually going to be likely combining these things, and make sure tapping's happening on that like button.